Near the governor's residence, protests are taking place. The crowd shouts slogans. The police are trying to scare her, while inside the guard is trying to hide the governor. The ringing of broken glass is heard to protect the official. He is brought into the office. The crowd throws ground cocktails at the building, and a clash with the police begins. The sounds of shots are heard. The governor is terrified, hiding under the table. Tear gas begins to fall into the office, clearly audible outside. Sounds of a struggle. The governor blocks the table with chairs. The door opens, and he is discovered by a man in a gas mask. Punisher. Special military fighters. The units are equipped for the operation. They go to the governor's house at this time. He calmly makes himself coffee and reads the newspaper. The article tells about hundreds of thousands of patients who are waiting for surgery in public hospitals. But the governor himself avoids this topic. The soldiers present a warrant to the gate guard and calmly drive into the territory of the house. The governor watches them and drinks coffee. Even when the unit, he starts the search. He is not nervous, but offers coffee to the fighters. The governor remains calm even when he is brought to the police and politely greets other employees. In the evening, one of the fighters, Miguel, watches the news release. The presenter says that the governor was called to testify about his involvement in the theft of funds allocated for healthcare. Miguel gets angry and clenches his fists next to putting on. Sleeping his daughter, Miguel carries to bed. She wakes up, asks to put the iPod next to her, and then asks if her father really arrested the governor of the bandit. The girl is proud of her father. In the morning, she is interrogated by the governor. He refuses to say anything without a lawyer. Miguel reminds her that healthcare has not received more than $2 billion. Does the governor have nothing to say? The governor declares that not a single error was found in the reports, and any problems with medicine are caused by the incompetence of his predecessor. Miguel asks how the governor spoke at night with the realization that he stole money and condemned many people to death. He smiles in response and tries to leave, but Miguel includes an audio recording of the governor's conversation in which he orders to cancel the operation on his detention, to bribe the Supreme Court to pay who needs to, and even kill those who refuse to take money. The governor's lawyer arrives. The chief sends Miguel and his friend arrest because they did such a great job. Miguel asks if the governor will get away with all this, but the evidence is too serious. In the evening, Miguel's mother comes over with her daughter. She thanks Miguel for looking after the child and wants to talk to him about a football match. Miguel says that they are with their daughter and will watch it at home, but the ex-wife agrees to let them go to the stadium. In prison, the governor eats sushi that the lawyer brought him. The governor clarifies. Does the people understand that he is innocent? The lawyer nods. The governor promises to start a witch hunt as soon as it comes out. On Swoboda, the head of a special unit sends his fighters to help with the relocation of several dozen families from an emergency home, because there is a high probability of conflict. Miguel objects this is not their profile, but the boss interrupts him. The fighters go on a mission and Miguel's friend says he can't cope without him. After all, Miguel was going to football. Thanking the God he leaves, he is late for a meeting with his daughter, but brings her a t-shirt. They take pictures of the Brazilian national team and rush to the match. The same fans are walking around. Firecrackers sound, but suddenly a shot is heard and a bullet hits a girl. Miguel runs with his daughter to the hospital, but there are not enough doctors. The operation does not begin and the girl dies a little later. The girl's mother runs to the hospital. They cry together. Meanwhile, the court releases the governor despite all the evidence and accusations. Sometime later, Miguel's friend comes to the apartment. A man is burning. A friend says that he checked. I did everything I could, but I couldn't figure out who killed the girl. Anyone could have shot from anywhere. Miguel is sure that his daughter was not killed by a random bullet in the hospital, and they didn't even try to help. The girl died from a banal blood loss. A friend offers Miguel to take a vacation. The guy cries and listens to music on his daughter's iPod at a press conference. The governor declares that he has nothing to fear because the health of the nation has always been his priority, and the fact that they are plotting against him only gives the governor the strength to continue working. He assures that he will not let the people down, and when he becomes president, resistance provokes unrest. Miguel watches a report with a press conference stopping while jogging in front of a shop window. A stone flies in the window. The guy joins the crowd of protesters, but when he gets closer to the police cordon, the police beat him. In response to this, one of the protesters throws a cocktail at the guards. Molotov soldiers are retreating. A real clash begins. The police use tear gas. Miguel coughs, but at this moment a protective mask falls next to him. Miguel puts it on and turns into the same Punisher Thanks to his combat experience and skills, Miguel breaks through the police line and enters the governor's residence, where he finds him under the table. The governor tries to bribe him, assuming that the guy works for his political competitors, but it doesn't work. Miguel beats the man to death. Later, the same Miguel's friend from the CCTV camera tries to identify the criminal who killed the governor, but nothing comes out. The detained protesters are brought to the police, and one participant notices Miguel and recognizes him. Miguel also looks at the girl and understands everything. Miguel's boss announces that they will to look for a man in a mask, and through him those who are interested in the death of the governor should begin with the interrogation of detainees. Miguel volunteers to deal with them and says that he will start with the same girl named Nina. He interrogates her and finds out that the girl is a hacker, but works in a comic book store. Her mom was convicted of fraud. They argue, but during the conversation they write on a piece of paper, "I saw you," and says that there is video evidence in her phone, and a copy is stored, and therefore, even if Miguel deletes the video from his phone, it will not help. The party members who belong to the governor are discussing who they will put in place of the murdered in the upcoming elections. They eat marbled beef, laugh, and enjoy life. The head of the Antero party Gomes offers to nominate his son, who has no criminal record, and threatens everyone. What else will affect the security forces and party members will go to prison. Everyone agrees with the proposal. Miguel finds a phone. Nina, among the confiscated, watches the records, releases the girl. His friend is surprised. After all, this is not supposed to be done at any time. She goes to work, where she searches for all available information about Miguel on the web. When the girl goes home, Miguel breaks his car next to her and offers to talk, but Nina does not agree yet. The guy is not blackmailing her information in the phone, well, as a hacker is looking for the police. Miguel says he just needs the names of the others who were involved in the governor's criminal scheme. Is hacked by the governor's laptop, and Miguel gets the necessary information. He arranges a shelter for himself in an abandoned building and destroys corrupt officials one by one. Information about this appears in the news. Part of society supports the actions of the Punisher. The police chief is outraged that they still cannot catch the lone killer, and Miguel's friend begins to suspect that the Punisher is a policeman. Too cleanly he is working to eliminate a new target. Miguel is going to get into the skyscraper where the minister will be, while his friend suddenly realizes who exactly will be the next victim and sends a message to Miguel asking him to come to the place urgently. But the guy is not noticed. He is already making his way to the building. They are coordinating his actions. Meanwhile, the minister meets with Antero, homosexual, and he offers her a bribe to stop the persecution of politicians as part of the anti-corruption operation. However, the minister refuses the money at this moment. Miguel's friend arrives at the place, does not try to warn Miguel. At the same time, a friend calls him. This creates interference, and Miguel accidentally bumps into a friend in the corridor. A chase begins through the building, as a result of which Miguel is injured. The minister remains alive. Miguel calls Nina and asks the girl to sew up his wound because he himself does not reach out. Then they discuss the next goal of Antero Gomes, but it is very difficult to get close to him and Miguel needs rest. The police chief also cooperates with corrupt politicians and calls Antero Gomes is the owner, meanwhile, and only he remains alive with officials. The police chief understands that the Punisher is not acting alone. Some hacker who controls the cameras helps him video surveillance, and although Miguel and his comrades, the rest of the staff, discover new information about the machinations of the late governor, the authorities order them to curtail the operation to investigate corruption. So the minister ordered, because of the lack of evidence, it is necessary to concentrate only on the killer and a gas mask. Everyone is outraged during the dinner party. Antero Gomes, surrounded by his new henchmen, discusses the future nomination of his son for the presidency. The guy gets nervous and runs out of the room, and then says that he is not ready for such a responsibility. Father and son. The conversation. Camangel holds Antero Gomes at gunpoint, but at the very last moment, the guy suddenly hugs his father and the bullet hits him. Despite the death of his son, Antero Gomes decides to turn the situation in his favor and run for president. Meanwhile, his people find out where the hacker who helped the Punisher acted from and come to the comic book store. However, Nina there is no, and instead of her colleague dies. The girl after some time goes into the store and runs out in horror. While Miguel's ex-wife comes to his friend and complains that the guy just disappeared after the death of his daughter. The guy is surprised because Miguel said that he saw the girl several times. Moreover, he was with her while his friend was catching the Punisher. Nina leads Anteragon's people directly to Miguel without noticing it. A shootout begins. Miguel kills all but one who takes Nina hostage and offers a deal. The Punisher must kill rival Anteragon's during the debate, and then Nina will stay alive. When Miguel's friend arrives in an abandoned building, there is no one there anymore. However, he finds Compote and recognizes his gadget belonged to Miguel's deceased daughter. The guy calls Miguel's ex-wife for questioning and confesses to her that the Punisher is probably Miguel during the debate. Miguel is going to fulfill his part of the deal and kill his rival Anther-Homos, but his friend prevents him from fighting, and the friend says that he knows who is hiding behind the mask of the Punisher. Miguel takes off his gas mask and friends argue about what in fact the vocation of a policeman consists in, who are the real enemies of society. A comrade says that he will not allow Miguel to kill a man. A shot sounds. When the broadcast is interrupted, Nina manages to kill her abductor and free herself. Miguel is detained in the interrogation room. His ex-wife speaks to him and explains that the guy has completely lost his mind and they're deceased. The daughter would not be able to live knowing what her father did and who he turned into. The action of the Punisher unexpectedly provokes a very high turnout in the elections. Anteragon's wins. The Omegle, who has been sitting in the cell all this time, is dragged into the interrogation room. There he is beaten by former colleagues, and the police chief says that Miguel did not act so badly, he just chose the wrong side, because corruption is an important part in the state structure. The police chief leaves, telling his subordinates to finish. Then one of them kills his partner with a shot and is going to shoot Miguel, allegedly in self-defense after he killed the agent after a short fight. Miguel gains the upper hand, frees himself, escapes by grabbing a weapon and a Punisher mask. He is going to kill the intent of Homos, reducing everyone in his path. Miguel gets to Anteragon's. The politician talks to him, unnoticeably loading a gun, but Miguel shoots before he finishes and then blows up the building with him next to him and explains that the guy has completely lost his mind and they're deceased. The daughter would not be able to live knowing what her father did and who he turned into. The action of the Punisher unexpectedly provokes a very high turnout in the elections. Anteragon's wins. The Omegle, who has been sitting in the cell all this time, is dragged into the interrogation room. There he is beaten by former colleagues, and the police chief says that Miguel did not act so badly, he just chose the wrong side, because corruption is an important part in the state structure. The police chief leaves, telling his subordinates to finish. Then one of them kills his partner with a shot and is going to shoot Miguel, allegedly in self-defense after he killed the agent after a short fight. The politician talks to him, unnoticeably loading a gun, but Miguel shoots before he finishes and then blows up the building with him.